What is cracking, guys? Today's video is going to be a quick one, and all I want to do is share with you some information which I've stumbled across regarding the Milwaukee 8 rear swing arm, or the rear suspension on the Milwaukee 8s. So my bike here is a 2019 Harley Davidson Softail Street Bob, and I'm curious as to whether I have the same issues with my swing arm as to what this fella named Jordan has come across. So the other night I was scrolling on the Softail Street Bob Facebook group, and another member shared a video from this fella named Jordan where he talks about the rear swing arm bearing not being all the way pressed into the rear swing arm, and Jordan says what that causes is binding of the rear swing arm. And what that does is causes really rough suspension where your swing arm might not respond the way it should. So it's not an issue which is specific to one particular Milwaukee 8 Softail model. Anyway, I've written away to Jordan and sought his permission to use his video, and he's given me the green light. So cue the video.
Just a short video highlighting the concerns I've been seeing with ride quality on the Milwaukee 8 Softails. I've had a few complaints now of really harsh, jarring ride quality. It's not stemming from the shock absorber itself. It's an assembly issue with the swing arm bearings from the factory. As you can see, there's a gold coloured circlip in the centre there. That should be seated hard against the swing arm. There's a little channel of pink grease in the middle there. It's showing that the bearing's not home in the swing arm. Now what that causes is binding as soon as the swing arm pivot is tightened up, and it won't allow the wheel to move freely and absorb bumps. I've seen this bad enough that the swing arm would not move at all, and the ride quality was pretty awful. Now what does that binding of the swing arm bearing cause? Well, this is an example of how tight the swing arm bearings can end up. Now that's one of the better examples I've seen. I've seen it so it won't allow the wheel to return at all. It'll set it its full height and won't drop. Simply backing off the tension on the swing arm pivot. I'll give you an example of just how easily the swing arm should move in the bike. I've got the tension off the bearings that are being jammed there, and now the swing arm moves as it should. With the swing arm out of the bike, you can see just how far that bearing has been hanging out of the bore. You can see it's not square in the bore, it's jammed sideways. Come around the other side, that one's all the way home, seated nicely, but with that bearing hanging out over here, as soon as there's tension on the swing arm pivot bolt, tries to push the centre out of the bearing and jams up. Here we've got the new bearings pressed in, all the way home, seated nicely. New bearings on both sides, bit of anti-seize to help it guide its way in and stop it catching in the bore. You can see how much further it's come through out this side now. Now we've got the new swing arm bearings back in, torque to spec with a bit of red Loctite. Everything's tight, shock's unbolted still, and the swing arm moves freely.
So to see if my swing arm's doing the same thing that Jordan's talking about, being it's binding and not moving up and down freely due to the swing arm bearing not being pressed all the way in, what I've got to do is jack the bike up, remove the seat, remove the rear fender, and then remove the bolt of the shock, and then I'll be able to see when I lift the tyre up and down whether that swing arm moves freely up and down or whether it binds. Now to disconnect the indicators. So now that I've disconnected the wiring, what I've got to do is take the bolts out of the fender struts so I can remove the whole rear fender with the struts. So this is the bolt which I need to remove to disconnect the shock from the swing arm, and once I do that I'll be able to drop the swing arm, lift it up and see if it moves up and down freely or whether it's binding. Alright, so I've removed the bolt to the rear suspension there, and that's doing exactly what it should do. It goes up and down with ease. So I'm all good. No need to take this to Harley and have them check it out. Anyway, I'm going to whack my bike back together and that'll do it for this video. Alright guys, so as you can see, my swing arm isn't binding up. It's moving up and down nice and freely, and it's not experiencing that issue which the bike is in Jordan's video. So I've got to say, I've got peace of mind knowing that my suspension's performing well and my swing arm is performing the way it should. So I've got to say a quick thank you to Brandon Anderson for sharing Jordan's video on the Facebook Softail Street Bob group. If it wasn't for Brandon sharing that video, then I would have been none the wiser. And I think it's important just to get this video out there in case there's other Milwaukee 8 Softail owners out there who are experiencing really rough suspension and are wondering what the hell's going on. So this video, on top of what Jordan shared, just shows you how to dismantle the rear of your bike and how easy it is to check whether your swing arm is performing the way it should. So that's going to do it for this one. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.